Okay, you guys, I have something fun and exciting and different to share with you today here in the art bus. So let's get started. So yesterday I came into the art bus and I promptly sat down in my Rosie chair over here. This is Rosie chair. She's a little vintage Broyhill rocker swivel, and I just love her. And I did some things, some admin type stuff on YouTube and some other things, and then I found myself scrolling on Instagram, and it was kind of putting me in a bad mood. So I thought, I'm going to get up and go over here to my workstation, and I'm just going to start making marks, because at the moment I didn't really feel like it. I was feeling a little overwhelmed with a lot of stuff that is out there on Instagram. Namely AI and the whole data center thing. But this video is not about that. It is about me coming out of a funky scroll session and forcing myself to make marks. So my plan was to come over here to the table, and I saw a video that of someone I subscribed to, and I was like, well, let me just watch her video first, because watching other people create is inspiring for me. And she was just doing her intuitive thing, and I'll put her channel below, but it's Your Second Bloom 1229, and she was just doing her thing in her sketchbook, and that inspired me. I'm like, okay, let's go. And so I came over here, and I remembered I had saw a post on Substack from a mentor friend, the Prodigal Artist, and she was talking about different ways that she has used her neocolor 2s, and that she had dug them out and dusted them off because they weren't really one of her favorite supplies. Well, the neocolor 2s are one of my favorite supplies currently, through this creative recovery that I'm doing. And so I was really interested in seeing what she had to say about them. And one of the methods that she discovered for herself was to get an encaustic-like piece of art from the crayons, which kind of makes sense because the crayons are wax. And so I followed, her little guidelines that she wrote, and I came up with this, which is just basically layering and washing and letting dry, and doing that over and over again, and you get a really thick layer of the crayons, which I love the colors here. I think I could do something with that, but I just didn't love the total output. I think this is far from finished. But anyways, I went ahead and got another piece of paper, and I didn't have the cold pressed paper that she talked about, so I just used I did have the cold pressed paper that she talked about, but I didn't have the weight, and so I went and used the smaller weight that I have, and I worked on a little abstract landscape, which is this guy, which I was really happy with. But through that process, I was discovering that I could maybe implement a little bit more of an encaustic technique using my heat gun. And initially I started with this little plastic palette knife, but I graduated very quickly to this pottery tool that I knew I had. I have a little collection of pottery tools, even though, just for my air dry clay stuff, but so these were gifted to me. So through that process, you can't really see the texture, but there is actual wax texture on here from the crayons, and I was able to, have a lot of fun creating this piece. So then I went and got a wood block off my shelf over here, and I did another one. And man, I'm telling you what, it feels so good to get lost in the feeling of creating, in the whole, not keeping track of time and just feeling it, just making those marks and seeing what happens and the exploration of it all. And so I thought I would try to make another painting today on this wood block for you all. A little bit of an encaustic technique, I guess. I don't have any encaustic materials on hand. I am kind of saving for that. And so really all I have is this heat gun and my neocolor 2s, and I'm going to try to make another landscape for this video today. So if that interests you, I hope you'll stick around. And of course, we're going to talk about a beautiful collaboration that happened that I wasn't even aware of through this whole process. So Thanks for being here, and let's get started. Sadly, it is still too hot to have my hot tea, so I am going without. And you can tell I kind of left my desk a mess last night. I didn't get out of here till after dark, which is totally unheard of for me, which just goes to show me that I was having a blast with this technique. And I don't know, there might be other people out there doing it. I haven't Googled that. If you know me, I don't really Google a lot of that kind of stuff because I want to explore myself, you know, in my own way and in my own time without a lot of influence. Having said that, I do follow the Prodigal Artist on Substack, and I consider her a mentor, and I feel safe with her, and I feel like her workshop that she wrote in Substack was, here are some techniques you can use to try different ways to use the neocolor 2s, and so it didn't intimidate me at all. First, I've had these wood blocks for a long time. In 2020, I got my Posca pen, my first set of Posca pens, and I was going to paint a bunch of signs on here and try to sell them on Etsy or something, but I never did that. So I'm just going to lightly sand this and get it a little bit smoother than it is. I don't know that that was totally necessary, but, you know, I'm going to do it anyways. These are just those wooden little canvases. I believe they're at Walmart. So, like I said, I got these probably 6 years ago now. Let's see what we can do. First thing I'm going to do is get a yellow layer up here for what would be the sky. My crayons are very old, more than 10 years old, and so I don't know if everyone's break this easy, but mine break very easy, and I'm probably a little, I probably put too much pressure on them, I don't know. I'm sorry guys, I really like you, so I don't want to hurt you. I only have the 15 color set, so that's my palette, so that's what I'm working with. And for my paintings that I did, I didn't really plan a subject or anything. I just knew that I wanted it to be sort of abstract, and I wanted it to, you know, kind of emulate a landscape of sorts. So this one, the first one, after I was done with it, is when I kind of saw, you know, possibly two boats or kayaks or something kind of next to each other, and then another one over here. But it wasn't meant, like I didn't go into it having a concept of what I was going to be, you know, laying down here. I'm just following my gut and my intuition and how I feel and, you know, what kind of colors I want to use. And I really love the blues and greens, and I love that this is kind of like a water, but it could also be land. So And because this has a little lip, I think I'm just going to go around the whole lip with black when I'm done. because I think that might kind of give it a little bit of a frame. So I've been saving these tuna cans for the encaustic setup that I hope to get. And yesterday I started using them for water because they're lower to the ground and they're flatter. I don't have to worry about knocking them over. Once I got my first layer down, then I just go over that with a brush. And these are water soluble crayons, so the brush just kind of blends them in. And then with this technique that the Prodigal Artist did, you know, she basically did this on her paper and then let it dry, and then just kept adding wax and wax and wax. For the encaustic look, you really need to add a lot of layers. And I don't tend to blend it in, but you can. I just don't tend to do that. And then I'm wetting from light to dark. Some of it's blending in, but that's just going to happen naturally anyways. But all of this is, you know, basically the first layer. What I really wanted to talk to you about was the epic collaboration that this kind of presented to me. And it was late last night, and I didn't want to record a video then. It was too dark in here and really low light situation. So I did record a video for my members over on my channel, which I do have a small membership. If you're interested, I'll put a link below. But that just kind of, you know, shared my elevated mood of this discovery of this collaboration. So I was going to talk a little bit about that now while this dries. So, you know, I am currently working through morning pages. I am, like, every morning I'm not reaching for my phone, I'm reaching for my notebook, and I'm just brain dumping my subconscious, which is really helping me stay in a creative flow and not get bogged down with all of the world news and chaos and stuff that's going on everywhere. And as an empath, that really affects me. I'm highly sensitive, and I can be put into a frozen state pretty easily. But I feel like I'm building up resilience to that by doing my morning pages. But yesterday when I came in here, you know, I was doing some admin stuff, like I said before, and I just went over to my Instagram, which was my first mistake. And, you know, it was just a bunch of stuff based on what I've watched already. And I'm proud of myself because I snapped myself out of that hole that I was going down, and I thought I need to be inspired creative wise, and I went and watched Emily's video. Now Emily is, you know, a peaceful, beautiful, kind soul, and she is trying to grow her art channel, and I know her from my channel, and I want to support her and encourage her. And so I went over to watch her videos, which I enjoy, and she was doing a sketchbook tour, and I'll link that video below as well. But it just gave me the peaceful vibes. It reminded me to tap into my intuition and just enjoy the process. So thank you for that, Emily. And that brought me over here, and I set up my iPad and I looked at the neocolor workshop that the Prodigal Artist had posted that morning, yesterday morning. And, you know, when there was a couple different techniques that she was trying and experimenting with, but the encaustic one really jumped out at me because I've been wanting to play with encaustic for so long. So I you know, tapped into that one right away, and that's when I started making this piece here. So honestly, you know, I always talk about separating yourself from the outcome, and I enjoyed this process, but I didn't enjoy the outcome. But I know that I can still work on this because of the layering that you can do. I can do something with this still. So it's not going to be thrown in the bin or anything. I'm going to work on it. But getting back to the collaborative thing that happened, I feel like it's magic, you know. So I'm at this point, I'm inspired by Emily to start creating. She doesn't even know it. I'm inspired by the prodigal artist to try something new with my mediums that I already love. She doesn't even know that I'm doing that, you know. I do this first thing and I'm not real happy with the results, but I'm inspired by Allie, who is another member on my in my channel. You know, she had mentioned last week on my tutorial video about you don't need another tutorial. She can watch tutorials and take what she needs from them and not get invested in the outcome of the other person. You know, she likes to play with it and experiment with herself. And so even though I didn't consider the Prodigal Artist workshop a tutorial, I didn't really love this outcome. But instead of just being disgusted with myself, I remembered Allie. I just pushed through it, and I started playing more and more and more, and was working with this, and I was enjoying it so much, and I was also enjoying the outcome. But I took it further. No one told me to grab the heat gun. You know, no one told me to use this little clay tool with my crayons, you know, and work with melting the wax and stuff like that. And so, you know, Allie's vantage point of, you know, making it your own and experimenting through someone else's inspiration was a collaborative effort. So now I have Emily, the Prodigal Artist, and Allie all inspiring me. And the whole reason I was getting excited about Encaustic again, because I first discovered it in 2024, was another member on my channel named Caroline, who has been playing with Encaustic lately and, you know, really making me want to go for it, you know, and want to do it even more. And so it was such a huge full circle moment. It was like, you know, I make these videos to inspire other people to create and not think about the outcome so much. And at the same time, you know, everyone that's showing up here is inspiring me, and they have no idea unless I tell them. But, you know, they're encouraging me, they're inspiring me, and they're helping me create in new ways and finding my, you know, finding my creativity, and they're actively participating in my creative recovery, which blows my mind. So all that to say is inspiration can come from anywhere, and it's pretty freaking amazing when it happens, and there is a gathering of like-minded creative people that all have a really positive impact and influence in your life. And when you're around it, you know it. When you're around it, you feel it. And for that, I'm so grateful. So let's see what else we can do here. I'm actually going to get more water. So I don't have a lot of options for a contrasting shape down here. I really just have the red. I hope to get some more crayons and, you know, be able to do something more with it. But other than the yellow and the purple, you know, I think I'm going to go with red again. So If you want to dry things a little bit faster, I am using my heat gun. Wow. So my video was paused for all of this that I've worked on since I paused it. But what I was saying was basically I'm just putting more and more crayon on the wood. Creative recovery is something that I've just recently identified. It's really kind of what I'm working through after a life and a career working online, and just not, pursuing creativity in the arts, so to speak. So, yeah, it feels like this is part of the process, learning different techniques and enjoying it and getting lost in the play of it all, and kind of just going with your intuition and feelings and not really, still staying distant from the outcome, which is very freeing for someone like me who is so attached to that kind of thing early on in life. I like the watercolor feature of these crayons, and that's how I've typically used them. But I also like the texture that they give. If you don't really blend them too well, you get a lot of cool texture. I've been keeping this towel next to me because it helps me clean my crayons off, and also this tool gets kind of caked up, and so I can dip it in the water and then wipe it off on the towel, which is really helpful. Took me a while, a few times to figure that out, but I think with the sunflowers, I'm going to do kind of a center that is darker, and with the selection I have, I'm kind of going with red, but I'm gonna maybe blend it a little bit. All right, let's get to some of the fun stuff here. So there is going to be some heat gun sound through the video. All right, I was recording and got the notification that my storage was full. So we're back. What I've done so far, when I didn't realize that my storage was full, was scrape off some yellow and kind of put it where I want it on the flowers. So I'm doing a little bit of a different technique for this part. Hit it with the heat gun a little bit. And then I just go around and put it where I want it. I love the raised texture that I get doing this, and I can see like the layers of wax, which is cool. And the color is just like very vibrant, you know, when it's just kind of pulled off of here and not really blended. So, you know, the whole thing here is just to play, like, you know, whatever kind of medium you enjoy, play with it. See what else you can do with it. Maybe there's something that you haven't discovered yet, waiting for you to discover it. It just feels really fun to be, you know, poking around and finding out. And just playing with different tools. I like, you know, I'm using my hands, but I'm also using a tool, and then I have to use another tool, and, you know, it mixes up the process, which is fun. Kind of gives like palette knife vibes, I'm thinking. I want to get some red up here. Fun way to make clouds. So I really like the layers and the wax texture that I'm seeing here And I might show you an angled view here in a minute, but I'm just going to go through the brush and just kind of blend in some things that I want to blend in. Let me see if I can show you all the actual texture here. So here you can see it. Thank you all for watching today's video where I played with the neocolor 2s and did some wax painting with them, and it was just a fun exploration for me. Like I said, it was a collaboration of many people that came together and inspired me and helped me work through some stuff, and I think that's what's great about, you know, a creative community, and I couldn't be more grateful for the one I have here. They inspire me every day. So if you want to be part of the community, I have a community tab and you can join over there. It's totally free. I also have a small membership. It costs $4.99 a month, where I do behind the scenes personal type epiphanies and things that are happening, and sometimes there's art and sometimes there's animals and sometimes there's nature. It's kind of a big basket of stuff that is my life. And so yeah, that's available. This Sunday I have a live stream at 1 p.m. I do those every Sunday, and then I'm starting to do vertical live streams throughout the week. So right now those tentative days are Monday and Wednesday. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll do so. It really helps my channel grow. Anytime you share this video or hype it, it really helps it reach more people, which helps me get that ad revenue from YouTube. Thanks, YouTube. And buy more art supplies. So yeah. In addition to that, I have an art retreat that I'm creating. It's the first weekend in November. It starts Thursday, I think November 6th. And I have a form down below. If you're interested in the art retreat, you can fill out the form, and then I'll send you all the details, and we can go from there. So y'all keep creating. Please remember to be kind to yourself, and we'll see you next time.